Roy DeMeo is one of the most ruthless and prolific killers in the history of the American Mafia. His level of brutality, both in method and scale, was extreme, even by mob standards. His was a name that even hardened Mafia members feared. Born September 7th, 1940 in the Flatlands Bath Beach area of Brooklyn to Italian immigrant parents, DeMeo was the fourth of five children. His older brother, Anthony "Chubby" DeMeo, a US Marine, was killed in Korea in 1951, and his father passed in 1960, losing both key protectors as a teen. DeMeo's relationship with his father was shaped by a mix of normal family life and the harsh reality of loss at an early age. The loss of both father and brother had a profound emotional impact on Roy. It coincided with a shift from working as a grocery butcher to entering the criminal world through loan sharking, connecting emotional trauma with his eventual choices. After his father's death, his mother moved back to Italy with his youngest brother. Roy stayed in the US and deepened his ties to organized crime. Without the stabilizing presence of his father during his 20s, when he was building the infamous DeMeo crew, Roy lacked a guiding moral compass during those vulnerable years. The early loss may have contributed to his tough, guarded persona, balancing family loyalty with brutal violence. On the surface, DeMeo lived what appeared to be relatively normal suburban life, but beneath that facade was a world of extreme violence, deception, and organized crime. DeMeo lived on Long Island in a quiet neighborhood with his wife Gladys and their three children. He had a nicely furnished home, attended family gatherings, and even took his kids on vacations. His son Albert DeMeo later recalled, "To me, he was a loving father. He taught me to swim, to ride a bike. I didn't see the monster, others knew." Roy trained as a butcher and worked in a local grocery store from the ages of 15 to 22, learning skills that would later serve him outside legitimate work. While still in James Madison High School, he started loan sharking, lending money at high interest. By age 17, he was running a profitable loan business, earning money that attracted attention from bigger fish. In 1966, Gambino soldier Anthony "Nino" Gaggi recruited him after noticing his thriving loan business and ability to make money. Under Gaggi's mentorship, DeMeo expanded into car theft, establishing what became known as the DeMeo crew, bringing in associates like Richard Kuklinski and Anthony Center. He joined the board of the Brooklyn Credit Union both to launder money and to legitimize operations. In summary, Roy DeMeo's early years tell the story of a street-smart Brooklyn kid transformed into a ruthless mob enforcer. With a foundation in loan sharking and a butcher's trade, he quickly escalated into violent crime under Gambino mentorship, founding a self-sufficient crew that blended legitimate fronts with cold-blooded murder. DeMeo was widely regarded as one of the most terrifying and lethal figures in the history of the American Mafia, not just for the number of murders he committed, but for how cold and methodical he was. In 1973, at around the age of 30, DeMeo carried out his first known murder, killing a business partner who was arrested in a pornography ring. Throughout the mid-1970s, he built a reputation as a killer and a body disposer, refining the grisly Gemini method. His crew dealt in stolen cars, loans, and drugs, eventually taking over the bar The Gemini Lounge. This is where their murders were often executed. This was DeMeo's signature and why he was so feared in the Mafia. So what was the Gemini method? The victim would be lured to the Gemini Lounge, shot in the head with a silenced pistol. A towel would immediately be wrapped round the head to control blood. The body would be dragged to a bathtub where it would be dismembered like meat. Remember, he'd been a butcher before. Parts were put in garbage bags and disposed of in various ways. Dumpsters, meat trucks, or thrown into the ocean. DeMeo believed that if there was no body, then there was no crime. This level of clinical efficiency and emotional detachment terrified even his mafia associates. DeMeo showed no emotional reaction to killing. He viewed it as just business. He even filmed some killings, which prosecutors later cited as evidence of his cruelty. One disturbing story, he reportedly forced a new recruit to kill someone as a test. When the recruit hesitated, Roy killed the victim himself, shaming the man for not having the stomach. DeMeo maintained several legitimate businesses, including an auto leasing company and a butcher shop, as well as involvement with vending machines and loan sharking. These businesses helped him launder money and blend into respectable society. So what made DeMeo so scary? The kill count. Between 100 to 200 murders are attributed to DeMeo and his crew. Some even claim closer to 300, though the exact known number is uncertain. He didn't just order hits, he personally killed many of his victims, often for minor infractions or business inconveniences. Most murders were not out of rage, but routine, calculated executions. Even members of his own crew were constantly paranoid. They knew that DeMeo could turn on them at any time. One former associate said being around DeMeo was like sitting next to death. DeMeo didn't hesitate to kill friends, acquaintances, or anyone he suspected might talk to law enforcement or pose a threat. He once reportedly killed a teenage girl just because she witnessed something she shouldn't have. Even law enforcement was intimidated. FBI agents tracking DeMeo noted that informants refused to testify, calling him the most dangerous man in New York. He was described as a murder machine in court documents and law enforcement reports. DeMeo wasn't just a mobster, he was a psychopathic enforcer with a deep love for violence and complete lack of remorse. His ability to blend brutal violence with business acumen made him uniquely terrifying. Even hardened mafia hitmen were afraid of him. By the early 1980s, Roy DeMeo had become a major liability to the Gambino crime family. His notorious murder spree and the visibility of the DeMeo crew brought too much heat from the FBI and NYPD. The crew's crimes, which comprised hundreds of murders, car theft rings, drug dealing, had drawn intense scrutiny. Federal indictments were looming. Authorities were closing in on multiple DeMeo associates. Paul Castellano, then boss of the Gambino crime family, grew afraid that DeMeo might flip or get arrested and talk. Castellano reportedly called DeMeo a mad dog who had to be put down. Even John Gotti, who was rising in power, supported the decision to have DeMeo killed. DeMeo was lured to a meeting at his crew member Patrick Tester's home. Several members of his own crew, possibly including his mentor Gadji and his protege Tester, were present. He was shot multiple times in the head and body. Some accounts say he fought back before being overwhelmed. His son Albert later revealed that the emotional and physical toll of growing up in that environment took on him. Albert found a gun in his father's drawer and witnessed strange, secretive behavior. After Roy's death in 1983, Albert developed PTSD and wrote For the Sins of My Father, chronicling the tension between the loving dad he knew and the brutal killer the world feared. DeMeo's legacy lives on as one of the most brutal and efficient serial killers in mafia history. He remains the subject of numerous podcasts, documentaries, and books, including For the Sins of My Father, penned by his son Albert, which offers insight into growing up under a murderous patriarch.